Welcome back to the Men's Talk Show. This is Daron, and I have two special guest stars today, Scott and Gregory from Australia. They're going to be joining us today because they're going to be talking about their experiences with homelessness, or if they know anybody that is homeless. They're going to be talking about their experiences. And I have Wayne with us today. Unfortunately, Chris couldn't be with us today, so we apologize about that. But we're going to go ahead and carry the show on today and talk about homelessness. So, if Sky, if you can introduce yourself to the audience, let them know, what you do for a living, if you was homeless previously, just kind of share your insights about that too.
My name is Scott Cushman. I have been in the IT world for roughly 35 years and lost my job due to COVID. And by losing my home, my job, I ended up losing my home and was homeless for about 10 weeks. But thanks to the United Way and several other charities, I was able to maintain some sense of stability for a while, and until I can get myself back to Wisconsin where my family was, and that's where I am
All right, go ahead and introduce yourself, Gregory, too. Yeah.
Well, though I haven't been a victim of homelessness as such, I've been a social worker in the field since the late 1990s, working across those fields such as child protection, disabilities, drug and alcohol, mental health, a lot of those other sorts of industries. And as such, I've had to deal with helping a lot of people actually find accommodation, and quite familiar with some of the sort of things that impact some people leading to homelessness.
So, what made you want to get into the profession of being helping people?
Well, I guess for me, ironically, it was actually school bullying when I was a kid that got me into wanting to help other people. And when I turned about 18, I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. And my dad was studying psychology at the time. And that sort of put me down that pathway of reading his textbooks, learning how to help people. And then I went on, studied a psychology degree, got a social work degree, and just ended up in the child protection field and government as my first job.
Do you know anybody that had to deal with homelessness personally, or other people that you have maybe met through the mental health services?
I guess not on a personal level. I have not experienced it. It's more about I've always been the case manager, the social worker, the mental health worker that's had to sort of help the person rebuild themselves and get themselves back into some sort of state of, basically stability.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I had a friend that used to be homeless. He really kind of depended on me a lot. But I provided him a lot of resources like 211, go to food pantries and things of that nature to kind of, I didn't want to enable him so much by just giving him money. I wanted him to know that, these resources exist because, and it's for anybody, whether you're male or female, that they exist in the world, because a lot of people probably don't know that these services exist. And, I just wanted to kind of advocate for him to let him know that, hey, you can go to the food pantry, you can go, it's okay to get, food stamps and things to that nature, because, if you're homeless, you got to survive in the streets. You ain't got time to be, being prideful and say, I don't want to get on government assistance. You got to do whatever you got to do to survive. So, that personally, I haven't been homeless, but I have, struggled with, not having enough food in the home, with me and my mother. So I always had to work jobs like consistently. I had to always, be able to, kind of provide for both of us, since she didn't really work at the time when I was younger. So I had to work. It was no choice for me, if we wanted to keep food in the, house. But personally, I never, experienced homelessness. But what about you, Wayne? You know somebody, or? Um, Yeah,
No, not
really.
not personally. Since I've been in the military, pretty much my whole adult life, I most of us are, especially when you're a junior, you live in what's called the military barracks. So you're kind of given a place to sleep at night. So, and especially in the Navy, like you always have the ship. I always go back to the ship and sleep too. So I've never been personally affected by it, but Scott, I want to know more about your story. So you said you worked in IT for 30 years. Where were you?
I started off here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, my hometown. Worked for a millwork distributor there for 9.5 years, and then I moved to Milwaukee in 1998 and became the IT manager for a tool distributor there, and was with them for 18 years until they got bought out by a big conglomerate. And then I moved to Dayton, Ohio, and worked for a company down there for the last 8 years. And then in 21, they let me go because they couldn't qualify for the next round of PPP funding, and so I struggled for a long time trying to find a job. Um, Basically anything I could really find, really, IT or other related, and my unemployment ran out. I had to cash in what was left of my 401k just to survive for that year, to get through 21 and 22. And it became a struggle just to make it day to day.
I can imagine. Thanks for sharing. That's gotta be very difficult. Like, you heard these stories about, people going through these difficult times during COVID, but they say for me, I'm kind of in a military bubble where we weren't so much affected because I mean we were essential workers. We still had to work. So very sorry to hear that you had to go through that. Um, so what were some of the things you were looking to do? Like you said, you were looking at other jobs and things like that. Because sorry, AC just cut out, kind of got quiet. So what were some other jobs you were looking to do? And so I guess in Dayton, it's not a huge town.
Well,
Um,
I mean, Dayton is pretty big for IT. They say that it's one of the better IT places in the country. I guess there was some survey done, but um, I tried doing. I applied for office work. I even went so far as to go to Lowe's and Home Depot and all those. Um, and I even went to Walmart. Now, people might think that Walmart's a great place, but I always think of Walmart being the bottom rung. They'll hire anybody, and whatever. They wouldn't hire me. The little millennial that interviewed me basically told me that I didn't have the stamina to do the job because I'm a bigger guy, and he didn't think that I was going to be able to handle the position. And the position was order picker for their online ordering system. He didn't think I had the stamina to do that job. So, I mean, to even get slapped in the face by Walmart and say, we're not going to hire you, that was pretty much what I considered the bottom of the barrel. And boy, now I've really reached the end of my rope.
Yeah, so like obviously on here we talk about mental health. So how was your mental health during this time? Like how did that affect you? And how did you get through that?
I felt like Muhammad Ali was right in front of me and he was using my body as a punching bag. I mean, I felt very degraded. I felt, very, I don't know. I was in a bad place.
Greg, what was some things you would like if Scott came to you during that time, what were some things you would tell him to help him get through it? And I'm sure you may have seen something. Did you see anything like this during COVID?
Yeah, we saw a lot of it. Like at the time, I was working for a government department, child protection call center, and we were just flooded with homelessness calls. Like people that had kids, like sleeping in cars, sleeping out of just anywhere they could because they were losing their jobs, such as this, nowhere to go, and the homelessness services were run off their feet. The government services were run off their feet. And a lot of the stuff that we were doing were, one, referring them to mental health services for help. And I've been a private practitioner for many years on the side too. But the caseworker in me would be trying to find the relevant service for someone like Scott to see, well, what homelessness services have we got out there? What refuges are in the area? What sort of government funding is there for helping with bonds? That sort of stuff, or rental assistance. So I'd be searching for some of that stuff as well. But on the mental health side of things, I'd be doing things like suicide risk assessments, or just checking that there wasn't a history of mental health and things like that, because that's a risk factor. Like if they're on the edge of homelessness and they've got some other mental health history, that could push that person over the edge.
Yeah, there were definitely some times where, I had considered driving my car as fast as I could into the back end of a parked semi, just because they would end it, and I wouldn't have to deal with things. I mean, mm-hmm. But I started thinking that, okay, if I'm like this and I'm having a hard time trying to find the resources necessary, I mean, I was calling everywhere trying to figure out how to get my rent paid, how to get my utilities paid, where are food pantries that I can go and get stuff for me and for my dog, just to get by today. And I thought, well, if I'm thinking like this, how many other people are like this and can't find the resources or don't know where to look? And mm-hmm. So since I've got the IT background, I decided then and there that I'm going to try to build a website that makes it a one-stop shop for people that need resources, can go and find them and get help without having to feel like they're alone,
And what's the name of the website, so our viewers can know about that?
The website is called A Path to Hope.info. And right now it's only localized to Wisconsin, because that's where I am now, trying to find resources to help me and my girlfriend now try to, get back on our feet, because both of us are experiencing rough times. When we moved here 2 months ago, she fell and broke her wrist on her right arm and broke her left arm up by the shoulder. And so she's been on disability for the last 2 months. And so money is starting to get tight again. And so now we're looking at more of those resources to try and help us get back, to where we can comfortably live again.
Yeah, because I'm sure they have a lot of resources within different communities to be able to help people that's homelessness. So you just gotta really look into it,
I actually had a notebook when I was in Ohio. I had a notebook of all the different contact places that I called and all the information that I could get out of them. I mean, 211 is a great source. They point you in the direction of places like the United Way and St. Vincent de Paul and all those different things. And it's a great resource.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm so glad that you did that to start that website to help people. Because like you said, for me, again, like I said, I'm in a bubble. So if that happened to me, first thing I would do, I have Google, but then you're searching and searching. You have to go through so many different avenues to find out what's credible and what's not, and who can actually help you and who you're eligible for, those things like that. So I definitely see where there's an avenue for a website like that. And I'm sure we'll definitely get that on our link and make sure it's in our TikTok so people can look out for that, because, even though COVID may be essentially over, but like I said, your girlfriend fell and she needs help. And she needs help, right? So people are still going through things in their life where they need assistance, so that's definitely, thank you so much for creating that for people.
Yeah, I just hope I can at least help one or two people with it. I mean, I try to list places like food pantries. There's a couple of a woman's shelter here. They just opened a place called Day by Day Shelter. I was at the grand opening for that here just 2 weeks ago, and I mean, just meeting the people that run that show or that facility. I mean, it's a great benefit to the city. We have people
Oh,
living underneath the bridge, that can now go to the shelter across the street and have a bed to sleep on instead of having to sleep under the bridge.
Yeah, because
yeah.
I went to Los Angeles, California about 2 years ago, and I saw a whole bunch of homeless people just like right on the side of, driving down the road. And they really have a big poverty issue there. And, the governor, I really think, needs to do a little bit better about that, diversify, these resources to get those people off the, highways and things to that nature. But in terms of Ohio, 211, I have had to call them before for food. So I know I'm a big advocate for that. And 211 actually is a resource that most people probably don't know about. But if you call them, you will get like an operator that will tell you all the resources that's within your city. They break it down to let you know, like if you need to get something to eat, or you need some clothes, different things that nature. And even churches give out, deodorant and body wash and all that stuff too. So if you call 211 if you're in Ohio, I think that they should be able to help you. They're not the best, but they can at least get you something like
They have a lot of resources at their fingertips that they can let people know where they are in their particular area. I mean, everything from rental assistance to utility assistance to food to clothing, all that kind of thing. They can direct you in the right place because, like I said, I've used them quite a bit.
Hmm.
All right. I wanted to kind of like get into more of the story of Scott, of you being homeless. Like, so how did you get out of that? Like,
So okay, so starting with 211, I contacted them. They put me in touch with a place called Miami Valley Community Action Project, and they were able to help secure housing for me in a motel for about 10 weeks. I spent probably 4 or 5 days in my car with my dog before the funding came through for this. And then they were able to put me up in a hotel for almost 10 weeks. And then during that 10 weeks, I was still trying to find a job. I was still doing phone interviews. And I was also putting up a GoFundMe page to try and help have my family or friends help me send me money so I can get back to Wisconsin, because I wasn't sure how I was going to survive in Ohio, and I knew that I had family back in Wisconsin. So I thought, well, if I can get back there, I can at least stay with somebody there, hopefully, and get myself back on my feet. And so one of my nephews and one of my best friends gave me the equivalent of about $180, and it was able to be enough to get me back to Wisconsin. And then I stayed with my brother-in-law and sister for a while, and they helped me get a job at that local Walmart. And then I was able to get a job down here in Oshkosh and transfer down here. And so for a while, I was actually having two jobs. So, I mean, it was kind of a nice thing, but it was a lot of time and effort to try and get out of that situation. And I'm still not financially secure because most of my money goes toward child support out of my check. So I'm living with basically half of my check because the rest of it goes to child support. But I mean, it is what it is. So I'm trying to find other ways. I do website design on the side, and I help people with their computers. Sometimes it's for a meal. Sometimes it's for money.
So I really sense the determination you have to continue and press forward. And another thing I want to hit on is that you reached out for help, which it's hard for men especially to reach out and be vulnerable in those situations. because we don't want to seem weak or less than we are. So I really
No.
applaud you for doing that. And then, for your family to say, yes, we can help you out. And I'm sure, this is a testament for a lot of guys who are going to see this, that you didn't get backlash for asking for help. You got what you needed, and you're still surviving. You're here to this day, and I'm so glad that you're here with us, and you're pressing forward.
Thank you. I
likewise.
appreciate that.
Greg, so in Thailand, right? So are you still practicing in Australia, like online, or are you just in Thailand, like just post up there?
Well, I think out of COVID, for me, it created a different career pathway. Like outside of my full-time government job, I started doing this on the side, telehealth. So I started doing a lot of subcontracting to large employee assistance programs or wellness programs as a counselor. And then out of that, I just started getting more contracts. And then eventually I just quit my government job and realized that I could work purely online as a private practitioner, providing both video and telephone counseling, supporting people. And that way I found that I could help a lot more people across the whole of Australia when my business is actually located, but I'm working purely remotely. And so I have my business address in Sydney, but I actually live in Thailand, which has enabled me. But what's good about telehealth is I literally am seeing the problems across the whole of Australia, and I am actually helping people in the most remote areas where they can't actually access mental health services.
Oh, that's great. I mean, it's a benefit for you, right? You get to be in Thailand, which is awesome. I've been there.
Yeah.
But also, like, you're still helping people back in Australia who really need those help, that help who can't travel to places. And also, like, telehealth is cheaper than in person, so it's good for them as well. So I definitely like see that on the rise, and really like good on you on still trying to help people, and you took advantage of that, because some people, it may be a bit scary at times. Like, you've been doing it one way for so long, now it's a complete 180. You're not seeing people, you're remote, things like that, but you found the avenue, and that's also a sense of determination to continue and press forward with that.
Yeah, and the stories around homelessness have been, and redundancies and all those things have been quite went through the roof in Australia. And luckily, over the years in government and other jobs I had, I developed a lot of skills in career counselling, life coaching, and stuff like that on top of my mental health skills. And so I was able to take a very holistic approach to helping people on the edge of sort of homelessness actually re-find a path, get a new job, help them rewrite resumes, coach them in how to go for job interviews and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about resources and your experiences with homelessness, Scott. But we talk a little bit also about, like in past episodes, like coping mechanisms to kind of help people that that's going through these mental issues or that's going through homelessness. What would be some of your coping mechanisms that you would tell if a client came to you, Gregory?
Is that a question directed at me? Sorry.
Yeah, what will be some of like the coping mechanisms that you would tell some of your clients if they didn't have access to immediate resources? Like, what are some of the things that they can do eternally to kind of calm themselves?
Well, a big one I always get them to do is I call this circle of control. I actually literally say to them, sometimes if you've got so much going on in your head, you got to do a bit of a brain dump. And what I mean by that is you've got to literally write down a list of everything that's currently stressing you in your life or is a problem in your life. And then literally create two columns, that which I can't control and that which I can control. And then literally go through asking yourself against each one of those items, can I control or influence this stressor in any way, shape, or form? If it's no, can't control. If it's yes, can control. And then what I get people to do is say, okay, anything that's in the can't control, you got to let it go. Because we often have so much stress focused on what we can't control. And then what's left, I get them to do a little mapping of what can I do to eliminate that stressor, reduce its impact, positive change over time, SMART goal sort of thing. And then if there's too many of them, because we only got limited time resources, financial resources, emotional resources, then prioritize mini project management. That's one. But and I think that's a good way to get them started. But then the other main tool is mindfulness that I lead them back to. That's trying to just be present in the moment, focusing all your senses in the moment so that you can calm yourself down and focus on what needs to be focused on as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's great to hear. So like as a health coach myself, I learned those same traits when I was in school. You know, with mindfulness and understanding, prioritizing the things that you can and can't control. So health coach, we do a lot of behavior things and habits. But there's still some of the same aspects to what you were talking about there. It's like you feel overwhelmed, but there's so many things that are going on, and it's just like I just can't. Since you can't do it all, you end up doing nothing. And I love how you put that out. You write it down, you have your columns, and you prioritize, and one at a time, you start to knock them out.
Yeah, I like
And
that.
you
What
feel
is
like
some
you're
of
moving
the?
forward. And sorry.
Oh yeah, go ahead and finish, River.
I was just going to say, and when you got those list of things and you're ticking them off one by one, mentally you feel like you're moving forward, and then you actually feel better. It starts to help with the mental health as well.
Yeah.
Scott, what would you say some of the coping mechanisms that you would give if someone came to you and they was homeless?
Well, I mean, like I said, a lot of the things that I dealt with was making those, like Gregory was talking about, you know, making a list of what I want to accomplish, and I didn't try to put down super big things. I wanted to be able to list little accomplishments that I knew that I could reach that day or in a short-term period to not feel so overwhelmed. So, you know, going through my Indeed job searches and, you know, trying to apply for at least 3 or 4 jobs a week versus, you know, I'm going to land that job tomorrow. There's no guarantee in that. But if you say you're going to at least apply to so many different jobs this week and give yourself that many more opportunities, you feel like you've accomplished something, like you've made some kind of progress. You may not get a phone call for that interview right tomorrow, but at least you know that you've made the effort to put forth something to accomplish something in the end and make it a small victory instead of being overwhelmed with, oh my God, I need to do this, this, and this.
Yeah, and I also was one thing that we didn't mention though, men's homeless shelters. I know they're not the best. I get it. But you know, again, taking away the pride, you want to make sure that, you know, that you're going in there, you know, with a positive attitude. Because if you can get into that man's homeless shelter, that's a one step, and that will at least eliminate you from being on the streets. So go to a man's homeless shelter, because if you don't have anywhere else, you can't depend on family or anything like that. That's like your best number one resource. But in terms of coping mechanisms, I would say meditation is one of the big things. So just like sit alone with yourself in the circle and just you know, just block out all of whatever's going on in your mind and just sit in there and just think about all the things that, you know, that can become of your life. Think about all the good things that's going to happen. I know it's hard to think about that at the moment, but I believe manifestation is a powerful technique to overcoming a lot of challenges. Even though that you might be homeless at the time, you're not going to always stay that way. So I think that just having a sense of knowing that it's going to get better later on, even though it's not better right now, that's just you know, at least 2 different coping mechanisms to kind of, you know, get you to have some hope, you know. But on that note, I want to kind of thank everybody for joining this meeting today. I thank Gregory for your expertise and giving us those resources. I thank Scott for sharing your experiences with, you know, being homeless and all the coping mechanisms that we talked about. What are some of the final thoughts that you want guys to take away from, you know, if me and specifically our homelessness? Like, what are some of your final thoughts? Anybody have any final thoughts? to share?
Well, I'll take something here. I think one of the best resources for mental health that we didn't even touch on today was 988. Not Gregory, I don't know if you have anything like that in Australia or Thailand, but here in the States, 988 is a big thing. If you have concerns for yourself or a loved one that needs help and you're afraid for that person, to call 988 and get some insight or how to help that person the best way you can.
Yeah, for those who don't know, 988 is the suicide prevention line. It was a 1-800 number before, but I think it was this year, right? Or late last year.
Yeah,
They changed it to 988. So yeah, definitely thanks for putting that out.
Yeah, we have something similar in Australia, Lifeline, we call it. But there is also a men's specific line, like Mensline. There is one in Australia called that. That's specifically for men, but the general one is Lifeline.
All right. Well, that's all the time we have today, guys. I wanted to appreciate you all for showing up and being present. And again, you're more than welcome to come on the show again whenever other topic that's kind of relative to what you want to talk about, just kind of let us know. Where can they find us at, Wayne?
All right, so you can find us on TikTok, Men's Talk Show, Discord, and most importantly on YouTube. That's where the show will be posted tomorrow. Reach out. You can hit us up on a DM or on our Discord. We've got a great community chat strictly for men in there where you can talk and vent and do whatever you got to do, and a bunch of guys who are looking to support you. So definitely reach out.
Yeah, and we will make sure to put the link, Scott, in our YouTube description when we post the video, and also resources for you too, Gregory, too, if people in Australia and they're struggling with homelessness. But on that note, I want to thank you guys for coming today, and I wish you nothing but the best, and hope you all have a great day.
All right, thanks for coming.